we may have a bunch more, I don't know. So that's kind of in a nutshell my report. And if you all have anything related to that, we can certainly address it. But our discussion items, I think, will most certainly dive a little bit deeper into some of these aspects that I've mentioned. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
Now on our action items, does anyone have any questions on our meetings of March 25th? If not, do I hear a motion to approve our minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from March.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. We need approval of provider contract template of our two Energy and Stride.
Dr. Grinstead, if I may give you some details on this. We sent you all the original documents that Stride and Edgenuity sent us. Caitlin sent those to you today. They are with our attorney. They're with Rodney right now, and he has sent me some red line versions of those that I think I need to share back with the providers, because there are some changes in there that he recommended that I think they need to approve as well. But did talk to him that he had no, he didn't feel like it would be bad for you all to go ahead and approve those because the content of the contract stays pretty much the same. It's just some very little changes with exclusivity and things like that we have to work out. But you know, I think we'll have those worked out within the next week or so. And I would hate to delay us enrolling children that want to have this opportunity because we are having some just discussion and negotiations with our lawyers and the organizations. And I'd be glad to answer any questions anybody might have about that.
Dr. Graham, would it be better for the board to approve the executive committee to accept the contracts once they're finalized rather than to approve the contracts before they're actually in the final form?
I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
If the board's comfortable with that.
Thank you for that suggestion, Dr. Perigin.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. That sounds appropriate and keeps things moving. Gives the
You need a
executive
motion?
committee.
Need a motion to allow executive.
yes, please.
Okay, I also move executive committee to accept the documents for their approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed?
Thank you all.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't like doing anything when it's not, proven, when it's not complete.
Right.
Okay, let's go to our discussion item. Approval of the VBOE.
I'm going to jump in on that one. So that was I mean, I touched on that in the director's report. We had some really quality discussion during that. Our presentation was probably roughly 45 minutes. We have had some follow-up conversations via Zoom, via email that we've addressed as they come about. A lot of those questions just related to how our program works. I think there's some interest at the state level on what we've done and what we've created. So we presented to the board. We were approved for first reading. Is that the way that's worded, Dr. Perigin? I believe so. Approved for first reading. And then in June would be that when they formally approved that. So that's just an update on that. That was the document that we shared at the last meeting.
Okay. Any members have questions for Caitlin on that? Okay, if not, Caitlin, you touched on it before, but do you want to update on the website?
Yes, so just that it's created, and now our schools, I wanted to share it with you all before I shared it with superintendents. So I will send it out tomorrow to them so that they can link it to their website if they would like, or however they want to utilize that. And again, it is a work in progress. I will continue hopefully to have frequently asked questions section. I'll have logins for each of the 3 providers when the time comes. I've got a list of things to add to that once we move forward through the summer and see what our numbers look like and what's needed for that site.
Okay, thank you. Now let's look at the eligibility and enrollment criteria.
So I'll touch on that one again. That document was created with the help of the steering committee, and it was shared to our superintendents. There is a note about that eligibility enrollment criteria. It allowed for flexibility for divisions to manipulate for the I guess the betterment of their own division. So while it is a template, if you will, for divisions to use and manipulate and then put into action what they would like to see, we did go more strict than lenient. That was our goal. We wanted, we certainly don't want a student in the virtual environment that isn't participating and working. I feel like that's kind of counterproductive. So we put that in place with some SOL stipulations and reserved the right for each division to, I guess, waive certain aspects of that criteria to meet their needs. So the one that you have was the template provided, and then the division itself has the flexibility to implement at their will.
Okay.
Dr. Grinstead and Caitlin, if I could add to that, I think an important nuance of Senate Bill 1303 is students, we do not have to allow a student to choose to be in the virtual environment if we don't think that's in their best interest. However, if a student chooses to be in an in-person environment, we do have to allow that to happen. And that did cause a little bit of a bump in the road, because that will, I think a lot of us had said, once you make a choice, you need to stay in that format for a certain period of time. However, state law now says that if a student wants to go from virtual to in-person, we have to allow that at any time. And so that's one of the things that held up the contract being approved by the attorney, is we don't want to be charged by the providers for a full year if we have a student who leaves in a partial year. So part of those negotiations are getting some type of prorating if we do have a student make that choice. Before, we could have controlled that by not allowing a student to go back and forth. However, when Senate Bill 1303 was signed into law by the governor, it does, we do have to provide students that option to go back to in-person. We do not have to allow students that option to go to virtual, but that's just a nuance we'll have to work through.
And we've reached out to providers about, do they plan, how they plan to work with that. And a lot of them, Virtual Virginia, I know, said they charge by the semester and not the year, but that still doesn't help us, if a student wants to return to in-person within the 9 weeks. So we're working through that. I'm not sure how much flexibility we will have, but it certainly puts a difference in for our divisions who are going to be paying for that child.
Hey, Caitlin, this is Stevie Steele of Giles County. I got a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
First, we looked over the template, and we're definitely going to be more conservative than not related to maintaining a certain grade point average. But the language referred to SOL, and the last SOL that we had, I think, was last year, is going to be the official SOL.
Right.
We're testing SOLs right now to determine how we mandate folks to come to an extended school year / summer school. Is there, when you say SOLs, I guess we're okay with the last SOL they took, even though that doesn't really reflect where they are in their academic journey with this past year. Is there anything that you would recommend related to language based on the SOL? Because that's almost a loophole, because if they weren't very good this year, but they passed last year, then I don't want to be ambiguous.
You're right. And the COVID year presented several challenges. And one of those will be, well, we haven't seen the results from these SOL tests, but that will certainly be a hoop we have to cross. So I think the language, maybe something to consider, would be at the end of that sentence, you pass all SOLs prior to the year blank. That could maybe be a consideration there. Or I think you could leave the language in place, and the way the document reads is you would have the ability to waive that on a student by student basis. So if you have a student who up until this year had done very well academically, had, grades were consistent, I think that you as a division would have the opportunity to maybe waive that requirement for that student, because it's obvious that they had a year that wasn't their best year. Does that make sense?
Does, and that's good advice. We'll work through that. The other question that I have is related to capturing the homeschooling students, and that's certainly a large group of folks here in Giles County, and I think it is in all of our districts. Once we convince them to come on board, and then they're maybe not enamored or entirely happy with the virtual piece, do they have an opportunity to go back to homeschool from our system? I mean, that would be like a truancy issue at that point, correct?
Caitlin, you want me to take that one?
Yes, please, because I think I know the answer, but I want to ensure I'm correct. So go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, a student in Virginia has the most liberal homeschool policy of any state that I'm familiar with. And so as long as a family meets the criteria of having a high school diploma or access to a certified teacher to provide the instruction, we would have to allow that student to go home schooled. Or religious exemption, obviously don't even have to have that much criteria. I think the one thing that we do have in our favor is oftentimes when students do go homeschool, they do gravitate to some of these online providers. And through our agreements with these providers, they will not take any other students in our region after they've been a student in our region. So we will have that protection.
So I guess my question is, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question. These homeschool students do not take SOL.
If they enrolled with us, they would.
They will, but they haven't, because like in here it says students SOL grades.
And they would be, you're right, and they would be exempt from that qualification. Because you're right, prior to this, they wouldn't have taken SOLs, and they would just be exempted from that part of the criteria.
Those students also have to take or have to provide documentation at the end of the school year that they are, that they're meeting certain standards. So we could use that as criteria too.
Yeah, I know one student that takes the same exams that we give our give our students in the county. They take the same exam, but report it to us at the school board, but yet, they don't do the SOLs.
Right.
My question was, what happens when we enroll them into our virtual program? We add them as an ADM number. We get the ADM amount. We pay her $2,000, $2,300, whatever that is for them. And they decide they don't like it. Their moms aren't happy with it. Their dad's not happy. Whoever has been helicopter teaching them, they don't like it. They want out. Is that something that would be treated just the same as if one of our normal kids decided they didn't want to come to school anymore? And do we
No, because they would technically be going back into the homeschool setting. And so they're not a truant student. They just chose, that's their version of in-person. So they just opted to go out of our academy and back to in-person, which for them is a homeschool setting.
Do we have to give that money back? Do we have to give that money back to the state or to our virtual provider?
No, you only ADM is, you don't get it the full amount for each student once they enroll. They look back at the number of days they were a member of your school and that you get that amount. So if it's, $13 a day and they were only there 10 days, you would get $130 for that student. And if they left on day 14, you would quit receiving funding for that child.
Okay,
Keith,
that makes sense.
Keith also let you know too, we're working with this right now to try to get a pro rate for those students who may drop out, because we don't feel like that we should be charged the full rate if they are dropping out, 6 weeks after they start. And I think that with each of them, I believe Keith talked to Virtual Virginia, Edgenuity and Stride have said they will work on a pro rate. And that's part of why the contracts are slow too, is we got to get that into contracts as well.
And I think Virtual Virginia has said that they would do it on a semester by semester rather than a prorate. So
Okay.
that's their ultimate conclusion, is that they bill by semester.
Okay, thank you so much. And Caitlin, no pressure, but your webpage, it'll probably be the best weapon we have to convince those students and anybody else who doesn't understand. You will be the single point of first contact for all that. So their experience will be gauged by what they feel after they've left that website. So,
And actually, I've received several calls. You'll notice down at the bottom that phone number is my number. And so I've actually received a few calls already, which I'm very curious about because I'm not quite sure how they got the website, but they have. And I've already received some contact regarding that. So I think you're exactly right. I think that you might have said that, I think, Stevie. But yeah, I agree with you on that. I certainly will.
that's all I had on that. Thank you so much. Great answers. I'll take that back to my board and we'll keep moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have any other questions for Caitlin? Okay, if not, let's look at an important section here. Financing report.
I'll take that one. As a fiscal agent, wanted to just see what, in most board meetings, we provide you all with financials. We're more than willing to do that here in Radford City, and I'd actually feel more comfortable doing that. I don't want to put more work on anybody, but I also don't want to put Radford City in harm's way. And I think we need to be as transparent as possible and would be willing to provide a financial report to you all at each meeting. It's not a lot. I mean, we don't spend a lot. The majority of it is Caitlin's salary and some of the needs she has, but it's not a ton. Be more than happy to do that if you all would like us to.
I would like to see something, but it doesn't have to be super detailed. So you guys start as high level as you think is easy to not overwhelm you. And if we as a board decide we want to drill down into anything, we can go from there. I think that's where I stand.
So Steve, you're recommending that they send this data via email?
Yeah, I'd like to just see the high level budget that we've approved and just make sure I understand where the money's going. If somebody would ask me that, I don't have any doubt that it's going to be managed appropriately, but in the essence of being above board and being able to answer questions if anything comes. Again, I don't expect to have a 10-page drilled down document. It can stay very general until we decide we may want to ask additional questions. That's my thought on that.
How about
the good thing about that is we don't have that much money, so we won't need that many pages.
how about I send that to you, give it to Tammy to spend with you with the agenda, and so you can review it, and then we can review it on a board meeting. I do want to let you know that Dr. Stacy is looking into. We're trying to find an interest-bearing account that we can put this money to that may grow, and I haven't had much luck. I mean, the money that we have, the interest that we would get from the corporations I've looked at is like pennies. It's not worth our time to move it, but I think Chris has a possibility that we're looking at too, so we can give you a heads up on that next time too.
That would be great, just to send it with the minutes and the agenda so we can look at it. That'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
Or if you can give a preliminary report earlier before we meet the next time, and then the final one, right before we meet. That way people can get in, or at least for me, I can get in my mind, the basic information out of it.
Okay,
That's,
I can do that. Thank you.
Anyone have any other questions on our financing? Okay, schedule our next meeting. Dr. Perrigan?
Dr. Grinstead, the last Thursday in May would be the Thursday before Memorial Day. I don't know if that messes with anybody's plans or not. We could look at the fourth Thursday in May and do the 22nd if that may be cause less conflicts. I'm sorry, that was
The
April. I
20th.
apologize. Yeah. I apologize. I was still in April on my calendar.
May
Yeah,
20th.
The 27th probably. would be
It's
good.
fine with me, 22nd.
Let
May
me make
20th.
sure, you said you were in April's calendar,
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's May 20th.
May 20th.
May 20th.
May 20th. Is that acceptable with every member?
Fine with
Good
me.
with, good with me.
Yes. Good here.
Yes.
Hey, but
Okay.
I make it.
The May 20th. Our next agenda is future business items. Anyone have anything on that?
I do not.
I have it's probably not a future business item, but a question. At some point, Caitlin, do you think you'll be scheduling possibly to go out and meet with the boards, the school boards for each district that are a part of this?
I'd said before, I'd be happy to do that. I think it would be good for the boards to put a face with a name and kind of see and I'd be happy to answer any questions that they have. So I'm open to do that. And I would just encourage either you all as a board or as your superintendent just to schedule me, and I can come in person, or you can Zoom me in. Either one would be fine with me.
Okay, well, I'm from Pulaski County. Our next meeting is May 11th. 6 p.m. And I think several of our other board members would love to hear more detail about the program than I am capable of providing as much information as you are. So
I'll reach out to Mr. Sears and I'll work on that.
thank you.
I've written it down though.
Thank you. And one other question, I may have missed this in the very beginning of this. I know that Dickinson County met last night and they were, this was on their agenda to address. How many of the school systems in Region 7 do we now have that have approved being a part of the virtual academy? Are we at 100% yet?
So we are at on May the 10th, the last one will be Grayson, and we will be 17 out of 19, and that will be what we are.
Thank you.
The other new ones, Ms. Cox, are Rise and Carol as well. They've joined on board.
Thank you. So I guess just for information, who are the two that are not?
Scott and Lee.
Thank you.
I guess maybe this is not new business, but I mentioned it before when we were actually approving your contract, Caitlin, but I think the sheer purchasing and persuasive power that this number of folks have in the consortium that you're successfully moving us forward with already. I mean, I'd like to look at other ways for us to take advantage of that, whether it's purchasing power, whether it's anything that we can do as a collective to help each school system do things more efficiently, more cost effectively. I know in my school system, I'm always very frustrated because we seem to stay in little silos. Each school does their own little thing. Even if it's making sure that the new teaching technologies and the way we're reaching students can be shared by all the people in this group. I know you've got a lot on your plate, but I want to keep that out in front of us because I mean, this is unprecedented that we've got this many people pulling in the same direction. And so anything we can do to take advantage of that group, I would be very interested in harnessing that power to do something like that.
We will certainly do that. And I know we've talked a little bit about that with purchasing power. And I've got several ideas as well as the way we can extend with maybe some summer enrichment opportunities for students and even maybe some STEM opportunities where we have a great group of as a region, this is one of a very unique experience. So I think anything that we can do as a collective regional group is going to benefit us. And I think that may not be this coming school year, but definitely looking into that the summer following this year, because then we'll have some time to get our feet wet and understand enrollment and maybe what that looks like a little bit more. So I agree with you, and I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront.
Awesome. Sorry, and I was going to ask real quick, Peyton, if you'd reach out to Dr. Arbogast to try to get in front of our board as well, that'd be great.
Sure.
You're gonna have a hard time, Caitlin, because our board wants you to come on May 11th too.
Oh man,
Not sure how you're
that
gonna
might be
figure that out.
hard. Are they? I wonder if they're at the same time. I won't have to move somebody to June. I do
I think when Ms.
apologize.
Cox said that, ours is at 6 o'clock too on May 11th.
Listen, she called dibs, I'm afraid. So
That's true.
you might be June.
However, we are a virtual academy group, and I am sure there's technology that can make this work.
I can do it both at the same time. I agree.
Exactly.
Just have to pencil in that time specifically.
Now, if we say we can't make this work, it really looks bad on us. So I expect a solution.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, I was wondering in the future, Caitlin, if till next summer or whatever, maybe to look at gifted opportunity and gifted education too, because I think that's, I don't know about other counties, but that's something we seem to be struggling with too sometimes.
Absolutely. Definitely something to put on that list for the region. Well, something we can explore with this regional partnership.
Right, in the future. Yeah, we've got to get off the ground first, but then.
This is a side note. I am working on an application for the Regional Academy to be recognized as a school division of innovation. And we got to be careful with that because we're not technically a school division. But I'm really working on this application. It's probably about 10 pages at this point. I'm really trying to get us recognized as that. So maybe I'm working on it. We'll see if they'll maybe create us a loophole, but time will tell.
Didn't the language from the Virginia, from VDOE actually recognize us as a division?
Oh, that was to, I guess, recognize us as a special program under the state. This would be a new distinction that they're offering to school systems.
If Caitlin could pull that off, it'll be really big because you can get waivers from certain state regulations with that once you're recognized that way. And that could, I mean, we already have a ton of possibility with this regional partnership, but if we then get the flexibility to get waivers from some bureaucratic things that hold us back, it could really be, really open up the windows of possibility.
I feel like my steering committee is really testing me on this one because it's borderline impossible, but I'm going to try to do it anyway.
Irene brought up something which I'm sure we'll do, but you know, all of our schools, like for example, the Lehman Holmes Governor School, you got the Southwest Virginia Advanced Math and Science. The students in our virtual academy will have the opportunity to take courses through those also, correct?
That is a division level decision, but yes, they will.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for sharing your idea, and thanks, Caitlin. Thanks for sharing your newest member with us.
Absolutely. That's something I can share indefinitely. So if you want more, I've got plenty where that came from.
Hey, handsome little guy there. And we appreciate each of you. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then May the 20th, we'll be seeing each other again. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Good night, everybody.
See
Good
you all.
night.
Aye.